I have no problem with all we're talking about doing here. I found that in past dealings with people that it's better to sit eyeball to eyeball and express your concerns and express. If we pass a resolution and we send a resolution off to Aqua, I'm not saying it will, but it could get thrown in the trash can before anybody gets to read it.
We can hand deliver that.
Well, after you give it to them, what do they do with it? Go in the trash can. I'm saying that it may be better to sit down with Shannon Becker. Mr. Black, you could do it along with staff, Joy, and talk to him and let him know what the concerns that Mr. Mumm has had, and you personally get involved in it and let him know that this is an issue that's not going to go away unless you address it. And we will possibly, if the board agrees, to take further action if they do not do something to try to address it. My suggestion would be that we sit down and have a meeting, you, along with Mr. Cully and Mr. Schiebel, and talk about what Mr. Schiebel feels the problems are and what's causing the issues. And I think you can get more done with a face-to-face meeting than you will with a resolution that gets hand-delivered or mailed or however you want to get it to them.
Mr. Akers, I mean, my only response to that, and I don't disagree with that. Dr. Mumm has been in, I put Dr. Mumm in contact with Mr. Becker last week, or a couple weeks ago, I guess it was now. And, you know, according to Dr. Mumm and so forth, and I've seen the emails that are going back and forth because I'm being kept in the loop, and a lot of those emails, I'm sure, are in this documentation. Not a lot has happened. There's a lot of talk, but there hasn't been a lot that's happened yet. So we can certainly sit down with Mr. Becker and you know, talk about it. I've sat down last summer, 2 summers ago, with Mr. Becker about, you know, Aqua wanting to increase basically good faith in the community, and then we were hit with two surcharge cases, or we were hit with two rate cases back to back. So we can sit down and talk. I'm just not sure that that's going to accomplish a lot. Thank you.
And it may not, but to me it's worth a try. I also sat down with Mr. Becker probably a year and a half ago about Lake Caroline. They were requesting to increase their withdrawal from the lake to 1.3 million gallons a day. And we had a long, pretty heated conversation about that. And the next thing I know, and about 2 weeks later, he calls me and said, okay, we're going to withdraw, or we're going to amend our application to 576,000 gallons, which is what they're now withdrawing. Again, whether it'll work or not, and if you don't want to do it, that's fine with me.
I will gladly do it. I think the Lake Caroline situation may have to do with a petition of about 1,000 people in Lake Caroline, too. I'm sure it had nothing to do with 1,000 people in Lake Caroline being upset about that. I'm sure they had nothing to do with it.
Okay. Other comments?
Mr. Chairman,
yes.
just one for clarity. Unlike Campbell's Creek, where the Aqua system actually flows into the county, Mr. Black has informed me that this particular system is self-contained. They got their own treatment plant right there. So it's actually, we can be assured in this case that there's nothing wrong the county's doing. So this is totally somebody else, and I do agree it's a health and safety issue, you know, where we go from there. But I want to make it clear, it's nothing the county is responsible for that causes this issue.
Okay. Okay. Thank you. All right, that takes us to the public hearings. It is past 7:30. Our agenda item 4, an ordinance to prohibit the keeping of dangerous, wild, exotic, or vicious animals. The board members have comments or questions prior to the opening of the public hearing. If not, we will open the public hearing at this time. Any citizen who would like to speak regarding this issue should come forth at this time. Remember, we have 3 minutes.
My name is Sammy John. I'm the owner of the cat and the monkeys. Number one, my cougar isn't an exotic animal. He's a native of all over America. I've had him since he was five weeks old. He's no threat to anybody, any horses, or anything around this area. I had USDA inspect my cages. My cage has cost me quite a bit of money to put him in there. In fact, the sheriff's department, it was 4 or 5 of them, brought their children up to see him. I'm very appalled at you guys that you didn't really do your due diligence. Really, I am. You know how many dogs bit people in the United States? Over 5.3 million. You know how many people died of dog bites? Over 300. You know how many people got bit by a cougar? 0. And under the Constitution, I believe you violated my rights. And I'm very, very appalled at all you guys, because you look educated. You should have did your due diligence, and that's all I got to say.
Thank you, sir. Is there anyone else who would like to speak regarding this matter?
I can't speak to the legality of everything. I
Oh,
did
could you state your name, ma'am?
Oh,
please?
Vicki Chambers.
Okay, and your district, if it's applicable.
I have no idea what my district is. I vote, and they tell me where to go. I live on Woodford Road.
It sounds like Port Royal. Okay. Okay, go ahead.
I took my grandchildren there on Saturday. There were several other people with us. We had children that were probably too young, but I wanted to make sure, like my grandson got a chance, even though he probably won't remember it, to be near something that magnificent. The cat itself is in a double cage, and he cannot get out. And the inside, where we were allowed to go, we were not near the cat without having that huge cage right in front of us. And my older children got a chance to see something that you can't see when you go to the zoo without binoculars because you're so far away from it. We also went and saw the monkeys as well, little bitty things. Mr. Johns educated the children in the type of monkeys he had, how long they live, what they like to eat. He allowed them to give the one monkey some blueberries, and they had a delightful time. The children ranged in age from 2, and I say children because one of mine is 35, to 35, and everybody had a great time, except for possibly my grandson, who screamed his head off the whole time because he's teething. And even with that distraction and that kind of noise, you never heard anything out of the cat. He did not growl. He did not do that roary thing that, mountain lions do. He just sat there and watched. He watched us watch him. It was pretty awesome. I'm very glad I got the chance. And I would hope that we would look at the conditions and see the possibilities for education and just saving animals, because without people like Mr. Johns, these animals will be killed. And as an animal lover, it destroys me. It makes me very, very sad to think that just because some human came along and did something they weren't supposed to do, which was own a cat, and, Mr. Johns rescues them and keeps them safe. He feeds them. He educates people. And I don't see how it's dangerous. I really don't, unless, again, a human goes in there and unlocks both cages to let the cat out. And that's pretty much it.
Thank you, ma'am. Is there anyone else who would like to speak regarding this public hearing?
My name is Carol Quiggle. I live next door to Mr. Johns. This was never about the mountain lion. It was about the tiger. But let's discuss the mountain lion. He walks it on a leash between the cages and the house. There have been attacks by mountain lions, pet mountain lions. I went online and looked up how many big cat attacks there have been in the United States. From the year 1990 to 2011, there have been 719 incidences of big cats, killings, maulings, and escapes just in the United States. February 15th, 2015, a lion in a man's front yard trying to get into his house where his young daughter was. June 20th, 2013, Charlestown, Indiana, a leopard escaped and was killed in a neighbor's yard by the neighbor 1 mile away from where it escaped. May 29, 2012, Hernando County, Florida. Mountain lion pushed wall out of his cage, escaped, and killed a neighbor's dog. October 19, 2011, Zanesville, Ohio. 56 lions, tigers, leopards, cougars, wolves, bears, etc. escaped. That case was found out because the way they discovered that the animals had been let out is that they were killing the neighbor's horses. July 21st, 2011, Hugo, Oklahoma. Kelly Miller Circus. 3 tigers escape and injure a horse. December 4th, 2010, Union Grove, Alaska. Frank Carms attacked by a black leopard or jaguar while walking his dog. They never did find out who owned that one. December 4th, 2010, Cincinnati, Ohio. A serval escaped and killed neighbor's cat, ran loose 9 days. November 19th, 2010, San Antonio, Texas. Cougar escaped from wild animals orphanage and was loose 8 hours, attacked, and almost killed a puppy. October 3rd, 2010, Idaville, Indiana. 3 tigers escaped from a private menagerie, and the tiger pushed out the corner post of the cage, and it was 13 hours before they were able to shoot and kill it. May 31st, 2010, Brown County, Ohio. Cougar escaped and ran loose for over a month. The owner had planned to get rid of it because it had become too aggressive, which brings up the last mountain lion that Mr. Johns owned. He had to have it put down because it became too aggressive. The cat he currently owns is still a kitten.
That's not true at all.
That's what you told me before. April 15, 2010, Minnesota. 2 African lions escaped, attacked a dog in a neighbor's yard 2 blocks away. May 21, 2008, Missouri. 61-year-old woman chased into her house by a black leopard. Officer shot it. It was pawing at her door when the police arrived. It was unknown who owned it. December 25, 2007, San Francisco, California. Tiger escaped San Francisco Zoo, killing 17-year-old Carlos Sousa and mauled 2 other young men in a nearby cafe. December 20th, 2006, Searcy, Arkansas. An escaped mountain lion killed 3 calves, chased a girl into her home, attacked a farmer on a tractor, and chased a woman walking her dog. It goes on. These are not safe animals to have. It was never about the cougar. It was about the tiger and a much more involved story. Please do not allow this kind of activity to continue. We can't handle this in Caroline County. We don't have the resources if there is an escape. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who would like to speak regarding this public hearing?
Good evening, Board. My name is Olivia Arnett from the Madison District. I would just like to speak briefly on this. I've had the chance to go over to Sammy's house and visit with his animals he has there, and there are in no way, shape, or form any sort of harm to this county. What I don't understand is there are plenty of other animals that are out there that are capable of killing, that are capable of hurting other animals that are out there. This pet that he has been domesticated. He's had it since it's been a baby. There's no harm whatsoever. I've seen it. I've been born and raised from Caroline my entire life, and I've wanted nothing more than to be able to learn about wild animals and learn about large breed animals. And going to his house, he's given me the chance to do that. My 6-year-old nephew, who wants to become a veterinarian when he gets older, has been over there and has seen them, has also given the monkeys blueberries, and has had the time of his life and has learned more than he could at his age just by going and visiting these animals. I think what he is doing is great for this county, being able to have people come and educate them and show them that they're not going to hurt you. Because there are plenty of other animals out there that are capable of killing horses, coyotes, wolves in this area. It's not just one animal that's going to be able to do that. And that's all I have to say.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who would like to speak regarding this ordinance?
Hi, my name is Sam Calabro. I spoke with you all before. I'm on the other side of these folks with a big horse farm. I think the issue at hand is, do we really, we talk about the cougar. Yes, he's told the neighbors, me included, he had problems with his other cougar. It got bigger. Well, these people get these babies and they're cute, but they grow up. He's walking around his yard on a leash, and we have to hope that it doesn't get a little bigger and get loose. And if it does, we pay the price. And then we have to ask ourselves, where does it stop? We were in here last time talking about 6 other cats they wanted to bring in. If we continue to let his cougar stay there, where do we stop it? Elephants? What comes next? We can't handle this in this county, and I don't want to live with it. So I really hope you guys will help us. We just can't have it. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who would like to speak regarding this ordinance?
Hi, I'm Mary Feinberg. I feel that there's something very wrong and unconstitutional when the county government is allowed to bully its honest, hardworking, law-abiding citizens and force them from their homes. I think if people are concerned with some exotic cats safely contained in government-inspected enclosures, they have bigger things to worry about, such as having the sheriff's department deal with the most dangerous species on the planet, human beings, especially if they have firearms in the commission of a felony. Under the Constitution, we're all supposed to be equal, but apparently the wealthy equestrians and elite community members carry more weight than the regular Joes like us. You know, I don't know where Carol got her facts about Sammy and his first cougar, but that cougar was rehomed to a zoo because Sammy's mother had cancer and passed away. His father was elderly, and there with the cat, Sammy was in the bounty hunting business and had to travel a lot. He had safety concerns for his father because his father was older and frail. So Sammy took his original cougar to a zoo in Arizona, and he was able to visit that cougar often after he rehomed him. I don't know where that story came up about him being aggressive and having to be put down. I don't know where the elephants came from, where neighbors thought that we were going to get elephants. The cats that were coming, the tiger concern, that was a domesticated tiger, disabled with a heart murmur, and could never be released or safely contained in a zoo with other big cats because he was disabled and he had a heart murmur, and he's used to being raised by human beings. And this just seems so unconstitutional and unfair. We're all supposed to be created equal. And I don't have the resources for attorneys and whatnot that my wealthy equestrian neighbors might have. And, you know, we were given 45 days. Sorry.
Excuse me, sir. We've allowed you to speak. Thank you. Is there anyone else who would like to speak regarding this ordinance? Is there anyone else who would like to speak regarding this ordinance? Is there anyone else who would like to speak regarding this ordinance? Seeing no one else with the intention to speak, I will declare the public hearing closed. Obviously, this is a serious issue and a serious matter to both sides. I can tell you this board does not wish to create issues for anybody, but would like to make certain that we are all in a safe environment and in an environment where we can feel comfortable and enjoy a good quality of life. When this issue came before the board, there were several persons other than just citizens who spoke. The sheriff was here, and the sheriff had concerns about these animals and who would be responsible should they escape and what kind of injuries might occur as a result of it. I believe there were persons here from other state agencies who talked about the animals and being in a domesticated circumstance and what kind of issues could arise as a result of that. I guess, but for me personally, and I don't know how the other board members feel and whether they would like to address this or not, I think they probably would. But for me, I was raised in an area, and we all were, where cougars and lions and tigers just don't live next door to you. Sir, they just don't live next door to you. We have not had that kind of living situation, not only in Caroline County, but in adjacent counties. In most instances, when we wanted to learn about those type of animals, we went to the zoo because that's where they were kept. They were in an environment that was safe. They were in an environment where there was not danger. So the problem that I had was, would I want my children to live next door to cougars and tigers and lions? I would not. I'm sorry. I don't have anything against them. I think that they need to be nurtured, and I think they need to be in an environment where they are safe. The only other thing I will add is, even though they're in cages and you may feel that they're safe, if they should get out for whatever reason, that's when there's a safety issue. So having said that, I will ask other board members if they have concerns or would like to speak regarding this issue. I'll start at this end this time.
I just want to address what you're alluding to, property rights. Property rights, and you're alluding to Constitution and all those kinds of things. When you buy a piece of property, they come with rights that are spelled out in all the ordinances. Every facility that I know of that has big cats has a very large enclosed area that then has cages inside that. I mean large. I don't mean a cage around a cage. I mean an entire fenced roof, walls, through the ground, large, with individual cages and some double in those. We talked to the sheriff's office at the last meeting. We heard from other folks that said that's not what's being kept. USDA clearly states that that leopard is not supposed to be walked outside of a fenced area, and I mean an enclosed fenced area. And I have real concerns of whether or not that animal is containable. If it gets loose, there are other people that live adjacent to you that also have rights. And we always forget about, you have certain rights that you have to grow, to raise animals, domesticated animals, and a cougar that you've taken from wild animals to raise doesn't necessarily make it domesticated. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Akers?
Mr. Chairman, if you would come back to me, Mr. Underwood is in his district. I'd rather he go ahead and speak, then if you'll come back to me, I do have some comments.
Mr. Underwood?
Mr. Chairman, let me first address a couple comments about people's rights, education, and bullying. This board has a responsibility to all citizens of this county to make sure that what we do, we look at all possible solutions, all possible issues. For me, Mr. Chairman and board members, this is clearly a common sense issue. I don't want, it's in my district, I don't want wild animals. I don't want lions and tigers and cougars in the community. It's not a violation of anybody's rights. I'd like to drive 80 miles an hour, but it's against the law for me to drive 80 miles an hour. That's just the law. That's just how it is. If I don't like Caroline County, then I need to move somewhere else. That allows you to do whatever you want to do. You will not be able to do what you want to do anywhere in this United States. There are laws and ordinances that you have to follow. This is clearly a situation where common sense says that wild animals don't belong in communities. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Black, did you?
If you would.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry.
let me say to Mr. Johns and to the others, the last thing I want to do is to bully you or anyone else. That doesn't make any sense. That's not something I want to do. Unfortunately, this is a situation whereas if I allow you to do what you want to do, the people that spoke against it are going to say we're bullying them and allowing you. If we allow them to get what they want, we're bullying you and not allowing you to do. To be honest with you, I wish this issue wasn't even here. I'm sorry that we're even addressing this issue, but the fact is there's a concern about exotic wild animals that you're housing. I understand what Mrs. Garnett said back there, her 6-year-old nephew, and she went and she visited your place, and it was nice. Maybe I did not do my due diligence, to be honest with you, Mr. John, because I didn't go and look at it. I don't like wild animals, so I didn't want to get that close to them. So I did not come and look at the situation. So I'll take responsibility that I did not do my due diligence. I depended on the Sheriff's Department telling us and showing us pictures and commenting to us and telling us what their concerns were. And I also depended on what the neighbors had to say as to what their concerns were. So having said that, I'm not trying to bully you. I truly am not. I do have a concern about the animals in which you're keeping on your property, and I think that we need to address that. And I trust we can do that without bullying you in that process. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Black?
No, sir, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Thomas?
Well, I've spoken to Ms. Feinberg before, and I've also spoken to Sammy, and I believe they're nice people. You know, they're good people. And as far as due diligence and things, I don't really even know how long you were there. You know, could have been there 20 years, you could have been there 5 days. All I know is the sheriff and animal control investigated the issue. Now, I'm not an animal control officer, so I take my cue from them. And they are saying that they don't believe it's a safe situation. I wish, you know, I know Ms. Chambers very well. I respect her opinion. If she says it, I'm going to believe it. The issue is we can't find a happy medium with what we've got. Your enclosures or whatever, you don't have a 30-foot wall around your property to make sure they don't get out. And I think that's the issue, and we have to err on the side of caution. As I told you before, if you can convince the Sheriff's Department and Animal Control that things are safe, they would come back to us and say they think things are safe, but apparently that hasn't happened. So I have to look at what's in front of me right now, and that's the only choice we can do. So, Mr. Chairman, that was it for my comments. If you have...
Okay, how does the board wish to? We close the public hearing.
He already closed the public hearing.
Yeah. Okay. My understanding is we can vote on it now. But,
Mr.
okay,
Chairman.
I'm sorry. Go ahead, Mr.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion that the board adopt an ordinance to prohibit the keeping of dangerous and wild exotic animals in Caroline County.
Is there a second?
Second.
It's been moved and properly second that we adopt the ordinance as presented.
Ask a question.
Okay, question?
Question. When we passed the emergency ordinance, we gave a date for their removal. Does anybody recall what that date was?
45 days, I believe.
What's the date?
I don't know the date, but it was 45 days from the time we passed the ordinance. And that was at our last meeting.
No, that was at our
May
first meeting, our meeting in May, yeah.
Okay, I see, our last meeting. No, the first meeting in May, I'm sorry.
I just wanted to make sure he had time to get his animals out, but that's not germane to the motion, so I just had a question. Thank you.
Okay, any questions? It's been moved and properly second, again, that we approve the ordinance as presented. All in favor, let it be known by saying aye. Aye. All opposed, motion carries unanimously.